Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Becoming the Sanctuary. If this is your first time here, my name is Kelley, founder of Thrivewell Estate and Thrivewell Hub, located in Whitensville, Massachusetts. And this podcast is a space where we explore healing, embodiment, emotional awareness, nervous system regulation, creativity, human connection, and what it actually means to return to yourself while still living inside a very overwhelming world. Now, over the last few episodes, we've been building on a conversation that I think many people are quietly living every single day. In episode 3, we talked about staying when it would be easier to disappear, the ways we disconnect from ourselves through overthinking, overworking, perfectionism, emotional isolation, and survival behaviors that often become invisible because they've been with us for so long. And then in episode 4, we explored what happens when the nervous system doesn't fully trust peace yet, how the body can remain emotionally braced long after life starts improving. How many of us become so familiar with pressure, urgency, responsibility, and survival that calm itself can start feeling unfamiliar? And I think today's episode is the natural next question. If the nervous system doesn't trust peace, can we actually rest? Because I've been noticing something lately, both in myself and in the people around me. Many of us say we want rest. We say we're exhausted. We say we're burned out. We say we need a break. But then, the moment the opportunity to rest appears, something strange happens. And we talked about this in the last episode. And I really wanted to focus on this as a whole episode this week because when the moment happens, we feel guilty, we feel lazy, we feel unproductive. We start looking for something useful to do, something to clean, something to fix, something to organize, something to accomplish. And before we know it, we've turned rest into another task. Because I think many people have unknowingly learned that rest is something that you earn, something you deserve only after you've worked hard enough, produced enough, given enough, sacrificed enough, exhausted yourself enough. But what if that's not true? Stay with me here. What if rest isn't a reward? What if rest is actually a human need? What if one of the reasons so many people are exhausted right now is because they've been taught that slowing down must always be justified? So, today's episode is about guilt, productivity, worthiness, exhaustion, receiving, and why so many people wait until collapse before finally giving themselves permission to rest. So, let's think about that. Because I knew as soon as I talked about it last week, talking about relating to being on the couch and just that guilty feeling that just pops up. And I want to start there. Why does rest feel so hard? And I am definitely at a point in my life where I'm really, really, really leaning into the deeper work. I am making changes in my life now that I've been talking about for months, for years. I'm really starting to pick those habits up or letting some habits go. Because honestly, I want to find a way to slow down, slow down in general, but also understand for myself why rest feels so hard. Because I say I'm tired all the time. I've already said it so many times today. And it's not that I'm making it up, because I do feel tired, but I don't think it's something that just sleep can fix, can cure. Because really what it is like we're talking about, it's the struggling to slow down. Um, and I think it's this constant need to just go, go, go is what we're responding to. And certainly we need rest, we need sleep. Those are all important. But I do think that, in the way that we're talking, that rest and sleep are not the same thing. Because once we can get ourselves to fall asleep, really our subconscious mind is what takes over at that point. But how many of us even struggle to get there? I know I do. But I want to talk about, why it is that we start to feel guilty when resting. Think about it in yourself. When did it become that we need to justify the downtime? It's like, even I feel like in my own life, I sometimes feel the need to text my partner and say, I need you to text out that you give me permission to take a nap. And, that's not because because he's controlling by any means or anything like that. It's for some reason I can't give the permission to myself. So I'm looking to him to somehow remove the expectation that I need to get something done. But even just saying that right now, it's like, is that expectation coming from him? No, absolutely not. The expectation that I need to get things done is coming from me. This need to constantly stay busy. And that difficulty relaxing is very real for me. Because I can't tell you, I mean, vacation, that's what it took me to fly, 7 hours away, to be able to feel like I could suddenly actually rest and not judge myself for it. Um, because I know what happens to me when I rest now or when I attempt to. I feel restless. I don't actually rest. I sit there and I get filled with anxiety and I start thinking about everything that I need to do, everything that I should be doing. Um, I'll even take good habits and start making myself feel guilty about them, like reading. Reading is a great habit. But does that mean in every ounce of downtime I have that I need to be filling my brain with any book I can get my hands on? Um, because I think what I'm more fighting is that emotional discomfort that comes during stillness. Like if I slow myself down enough that I can actually rest, what is it that's going to pop up? Because true rest feels very unfamiliar. Like I said, there's not many times in my life that I can remember truly resting and not having any sort of feelings about it. Um, but and this is where that we can kind of take action in ourselves and something that I'm doing for myself, because today is one of those days. It's I really want to, like I said and been talking about, really step into this new version of myself, and create healthier habits. But for me to do that, I have to see how much these bad habits are still in there. So I got myself, I have to be honest, I didn't get myself, I had it because I have a little bit of obsession with office supplies for some reason. So I have all these notebooks everywhere in my house, brand new ones, some used, some not. And there's this little one. Um, it it's perfect. And this is the one that I'm going to use to track my doom scrolling. So whenever I doom scroll, and I already had to mark it right before I started this podcast because I found myself in the abyss of Facebook yet again. So I write it down because for me, I need the visual. I need to visually see how many times a day I doom scroll, because that's how I can see and accept and acknowledge a problem, right? So those are just some things that's helping me be able to sit and not feel like I need this constant stimulation, and making it so there is some sort of blockage or obstacle in my way from truly resting. Because next thing I want to talk about is how and we've talked about this in the past episodes, but let's really lean into it here. Because we absolutely, as a culture, tie productivity to self-worth. So when we do that, um, and you think about the worth that you have within yourself, how you think people perceive you and how you feel about yourself. We have absolutely tied that to the output of what goes into the world. What are we producing? What are we creating? What are we accomplishing? And that in turn, we've heard it how many times, and this is just the lack of awareness where it's like, I'll give you something to be tired about. Like you're not tired enough. You're not, I've had a longer day. Again, that just all comes from this deep ingrained comparison culture. And it's like, what if I woke up for the day and realized I still needed more rest and just went right back to bed? Right now, I'm somebody who sleeps late and I'm lazy, and it can come, those descriptions can come from myself and like I said, culture as a whole. Um and we also think about, with our own self-worth, but more so our identity, that how much usefulness becomes an identity. Because I mean, just look all around us, right? The achievement culture. um and again, you're going to hear me continuously talk about this. Sorry if I got a little distracted there. I had something in my eye, but you're going to hear me talk about culture a lot, because we're in a reactionary culture. We're in a digital culture. We're in achievement culture. We're in a comparison culture. Think about all those descriptions that I'm using for this culture, and they're all true. It's where we're at. And we're all trying to be our best self while we're at the intersection of this culture that's cutting us into 700 million different pieces. And we can't be stretched that thin. We can't do all the things that the pressure is put on us to do. And then in the same breath, say, but you have to earn the rest. Because if you're constantly proving your value, right, in what you produce, or like we said, like what you create, um, that productivity, that becomes your self-esteem marker, right? Think about what you go through to your day. You ask yourself, what did I accomplish today? How would you feel if you say nothing, right? What if you accomplished nothing? What if you allowed your body to just rest? It's like we can't get there because we have such difficulty feeling worthy without producing. And it's this constant battle of work ethic versus self-worth. And think about that in your own life, right? Like think about, what is a work ethic to you? What is that definition? I was just asked this recently, right? What does a work ethic mean to you? Does it mean that you show up, that you give 110%, and you do the very best that you can, and whatever you get accomplished is what you get accomplished, and then you go home and you rest? Or do you give 110%, right, and still feel like it's not good enough, and feel like you need to take on more, and you need to take on more projects or say yes to your boss more, and not take the vacation time and not take time off? Is that your work ethic? Because we have to really look, because now where I'm at and where I continue to be is I'm going to give you my best effort. But my best effort and your version of my best effort is not my responsibility. Only I know what my best effort is. And we can manipulate this, right? If you're trying to cut corners or anything like that, like that's, I'm not talking about those type of situations. I'm talking about being authentic and being genuine. Because this is how we have entered the burnout culture. Um I mean, my gosh, the amount of cultures we're in right now, it's wild when I think of how many. Um, Holy smokes. It's going to be okay. We can come out of this. We can heal ourselves. We can collectively come back. We can slow down. We can do this. Because even as I'm recording this podcast, you could just hear the panic that came out of my voice, just realizing how many intersections we're in the culture, in the society that we are in today. And that honestly just naturally leads me into my next topic, how exhaustion um, has become an identity. Think about that. We have completely normalized burnout. I'm 40 years old, and it feels like since the second I got out of high school, that's become normalized. You work hard, you hustle, you don't sleep, you don't drink a lot of water, you do the best you can, but even if you do the best you can, you have to do more. Just go, go, go. Get the bigger house, get the bigger car, make more money, have more money in the bank, go on more vacations. But don't actually go on vacation. You still have to be accessible, right? You still have to post to your social media. You still have to respond to your boss. You still have to answer to all of these responsibilities. We have become a society that wearing busy is a badge of honor. And the worst thing is that we're bonding over this. We're like, again, the only thing I have to reference to at this moment is being a business owner. I can't tell you how many um, jokes or videos or reels or anything, right? Like, see, it's all around that doom scrolling that I send my fellow business owner friends, being like, "How are you doing? On the verge of a mental breakdown? Oh, ha 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 ha." It's like, well, wait a minute. Like, this isn't what we're supposed to be doing. Like, I came out of the world that glorified hustle, right? And I understand that you do need hustle. Hustle has to happen. You have to work hard as a business owner. You will hear me say continuously in every single podcast, it's the balance. It's the balance. I have to work hard, right? And I want to work hard. I choose to work hard. But what is not helping me is when I go home at the end of a long day and then I feel like I still can't slow down. I can't rest. I have to. But then that's where the collapse comes in. That's where I go into shutdown. And I just want to numb everything out and I want to shut everything out. And that's what we're doing when we're doom scrolling. Or any of these activities that we participate in that help us shut the world out because, God forbid we actually just rest. Um but I think the fact that something else that can really, I'm thinking about my own career, and not even just career, my own life, right? There's been times that I can feel important because I'm overwhelmed. I, like I said, we're normalizing this, but we wear it like a badge of honor. I'll be like, my plate is just so full. And then you get the validation of like, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do it all. That should not be something that we're celebrating because that just means we are never slowing down. And again, like we continue to talk about, survival mode becomes a personality. And our world is just constantly reinforcing this exhaustion. I have a really hard time finding anyone that is in my life or that I meet um, that isn't just tired all the time. And like I said, I know I'm one of them. I'm the type that's tired all the time. But because of the unhealthy balance in my life, I finally get to the point that I get to lay my head down on the pillow next to the man that I'm building this amazing life with, and my eyes are just wide open. Wide open. Can't stop thinking, can't stop the thoughts, pick up the phone, do the doom scrolling. Now I'm buying something on Amazon that I don't even need. And now I'm comparing myself to the business that's been open 10 years and is super successful. Like, none of this combination is healthy for me. So that's why I want to know, why do we wait until collapse? Because if we're waiting for burnout before we rest, right? Like, I'll just talk about my own experience. Yes, of course, this was not just burnout, for the record, but I had to wait until I hit rock bottom, until my life was literally collapsing around me before I raised my hand and said, I need help. My life has become unmanageable. And I think when you remove the idea that it's a substance, right? What if it's life itself? What if life has made it so life is unmanageable? Because if we're sitting here and waiting for the collapse to come, that's going to be so much harder to come out of. I had to take a 6-month hiatus from my own life to start building that foundation in a way that was going to be productive and beneficial for me in my healing and my sobriety. But only for what? For life to kind of suck me back out. And yeah, I'm not drinking, and I am very grateful for that. And my cravings are minimal. Minimal would be an overstatement. I very, very, very rarely, knock on wood, because I work on my sobriety very hard, have cravings for alcohol. But what about everything else? What about everything else that can help us escape life? And that's why a lot of it, we're waiting until the sickness comes, right? We're waiting until the emotional breakdown. We are ignoring every single early sign. Because what? Because we don't deserve to rest. It is just this push through, dig deep. You can do it. We have to push through everything. And again, it's because we think that rest has to be earned. And again, if we all of a sudden say, I'm going to take 2 days for myself and take a breather, right? Then we have the fear of falling behind. Or say we don't go to all those events that weekend, right? Because I don't know about you, but my summer's almost jam-packed. I don't even know how that happened. Because we have this fear of disappointing others, or of appearing lazy for not going or showing up or doing what we quote unquote think we should do. So we just keep adding and adding and adding and showing up for everything and everyone else except for ourselves. And trust me when I say, and I know there's some listeners out there who have also experienced this, but if you wait until collapse is nothing to joke about. Collapse is extremely, extremely difficult to come out of. I have learned a lot of serious life lessons the first 2 months of Thrivewell being open. And one of those is that if I ignore the early signs that I am seeing in my own life, collapse will come. And collapse is no longer just taking me out. It is taking out the business that I built. I have a family now, and they depend on me, and my partner and we work together. So to allow my life and everything that's involved in that to collapse, well, I don't know if I could do it again, first of all. And again, I'm not talking about my sobriety. Our life can collapse in many different ways. And I have to make some tough decisions in my own life right now, whether that to be able to sustain financially, or to start really taking better care of my body, and my spirit. I don't want to see what that collapse looks like. So this is me starting to wave the white flag saying, I am a student. I am healing too. I need to start walking the walk. And you'll probably hear me talking about this several times because like I said, it's the books that I'm reading now and the information that I'm not only just learning, but I'm actually putting into action is what is me acknowledging those early signs. Um, because like I said, opening Thrivewell Hub, it changed me in a way I wasn't expecting. I knew it was going to be hard. I'll be fully honest, I didn't know it would be this hard. Um, but I think in anything in our life where we can start to feel the walls closing in, um, or feeling that, you're kind of losing yourself again, you're disconnecting, we're going right back into that rinse repeat survival mode body that can carry us a really long way actually. Um, not even because it's disguised in the society that we live in, that it's very easy to just blow past all these signs. Um, but I think, I mean, for myself, um, trying to balance healing and building at the same time. And whatever it is that you're building, whether that's new routines or a business or a family or a home, whatever that is, that's been something that I have been looking at for a long time. And I think I'm just finally ready to really start living that balance because to not lose yourself to burnout or disconnection or just numbing yourself from it altogether, even being in your own dream. Like owning a business has been a dream of mine my entire life in some sort of way. But if I don't stop and slow down and take care of myself, it's not sustainable. I'll lose it before it even begins. And I am far too invested and committed to close the doors. For me, success, failure is not an option here. Success is what needs to come of this. You don't get a lot of these opportunities in your life. And it's not to say if I shut the doors, then that's suddenly a failure. And I'm also not saying that I need to shut the doors. It's just understanding the balance of slow and steady. Slow and steady wins the race. We're taught that since we're a kid, but suddenly this turtle in the hare reference gets lost along the way. Because I think about in my own life how many times I postpone rest, right? I can slow down when. I can take a nap when. I'll take a bath when. And it's the guilt that I'm working very, very hard to let go of. The book that we've chosen, we're on to the next pillar um, for our book club, and this pillar is cleanse. And we're literally reading a book that's called Letting Go. And the book's a bit bigger than I thought it was going to be, but I'm really excited to read it because after learning about how responsible I am for where I'm at and the obstacles that are in my way, how many of them are myself, I want to know and truly know how to truly let go of something because I think that's something that I've always struggled with personally. Um, because my body is getting to the point where it is forcing me to stop. And again, I don't want to end up at a younger age, not saying I'm young, but I'm younger, that my body is shutting down on me. And all of that comes back to learning how to listen earlier. It's like we're driving our bodies are our cars, right? And we're behind the wheel and the check engine light is on and then the tire pressure light comes on and then uh-oh, something's up with your battery And it's like some people may do that with their car. Full disclosure, my check engine light is on naturally. But if we pretend, not pretend, but let's give it a reference of somebody who takes better care of their car, because anybody who knows me knows that's not me. I hate to say that. Another thing I should write down on the list, but not today, to work on. But imagine just putting a piece of black electrical tape over all those lights and just ignoring it. And then when the car shits the bed and can't go any further, you're like, I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened. It's like all the signs were there. The car's dashboard was screaming at you. Well, that's what your body's doing. Um, and and we need to start looking at those signals and actually doing something about it. Because, and I'm not to say that you have to have kids to this, but how many of us, I know I have really started to look into generational cycles, because what do you think we're just teaching? What do you think we're carrying down to the next generation? Because I think there's so much awareness out there now that we can ask this question. What if you were the one? What if you were the one that actually said no more? You stop that cycle. And then you get to see the next generation not just picking up right where, not even where we left off, but where we are. Because it is all cyclical. It is all the ripple effect. We have the ability to change the direction in which our world is going. Because for a lot of us, and I know this took me far too long to realize, is that receiving is harder than is doing. Because think about it, how hard is it to, never mind ask for, but to receive help, to receive support, to receive kindness? How about a compliment? I'm famous for getting a new dress, getting it off the clearance rack at TJ Maxx. Somebody gives me a compliment on the dress. And instead of just saying thank you, I have to go into this elaborate story of that I got it for only X amount of dollars, that it didn't fit right here, or it didn't do this right. It's like this elaborate explanation of why, for some reason, I don't deserve that compliment. And I'm trying to get better, which I feel like I am, that now I start to correct myself. I'll give the spiel, but then I end it with what I meant to say was thank you. And that's me trying to make light of a situation that obviously runs a bit deeper. Because I think that the same way we talked about help, support, kindness, and compliments, it's very hard for us to receive rest. And I know even in my own life, I'll try and rest. And if my partner is up and he's doing stuff, well, suddenly I'm mad at him that he's doing stuff, because I feel like now that he is, I have to get up and do it. Well, is that his problem or is that my problem? He's not putting that pressure on me whatsoever. It's just that I have a problem with receiving rest. And I mean, that just can naturally, all of those parts, anything that we have to receive versus doing, that's how it can translate into that hyper independence. Because now it's this act to prove that we don't need anybody else. But if we don't need anybody else, there is never time for rest. So it's just understanding. I mean, I like to listen to a lot of motivational videos and audio, and I believe that it was Simon Sinek who said it, where he talks about the people that we see out in the world in these successful positions. How many of them got to the top or got to where they are completely by themselves? The answer is none of them. They all had some sort of tribe. They had some sort of support system, because you just to be successful in life, and whatever success means to you deep down, nobody gets there all alone. We have to learn to receive help and support, but we also have to learn how to rest, Because if we don't, um, again, it's just collapse. That's what inevitably comes. And we have to let go of the control, right? Because when you ask for help, what being allowed to rest is letting go of control, because then again everything just translates into these thoughts. If you're still trying to control everything, say you do something as simple as somebody's helping you wash the dishes and you feel like you still need to control that situation. You're wondering how they're washing it, how are they stacking the dishwasher, are they drying them afterwards, are they putting them away properly? Again, surrender the outcome, let go of control, allow yourself to be vulnerable. Okay, that is also very, very important. Allow yourself to show your human side. And I think in this moment, it's like so much, it's just like an aha moment. Like we're all trying to pretend like we're not human, but then live in a human world. And then you look at the world that we've created. None of this is human. Not the way we live, not where we live, not how we live. What's the point of being human? How many people come through here at the hub and say, I'm doing fine. I'm doing okay. I'm getting by. What's the point? We should feel more than okay and more than fine and more than busy. And that you have to start allowing yourself to be cared for. It takes a village. We hear it all the time. It takes a village to get through life. And then for some reason, we don't believe that enough. And think about your own struggles. Think about the times that you've struggled to receive anything, whether that be help or support or even just something as simple as taking a nap. Because even just while doing this podcast, I'm sitting here reflecting on my own life. You know, I just went and had a lovely chat with one of the other business owners on the street here. And at first, you know, I was just going in for a quick hello, but I had that energy of go, go, go. And I'll tell you, I actually allowed myself to sit down for a minute. Um, and that's what made me, in this moment, realize what rest actually is. Because it wasn't like I had anything desperate to come back to, but it was this pressure, the first 10 minutes of sitting down, feeling like, okay, I need to get up, right? I need to record my podcast. I need to do this. But if the topic, right, is talking about needing rest and I'm rushed and feeling this pressure and this energy to record the podcast, am I going to say the message in the right way? And I think why there's a little bit more time in between my words on this podcast is because I'm reflecting on my own life in real time. You know, the same way I talk about that I'm figuring out Thrivewell and this business and what my path is and where I'm headed. It's like I'm starting my healing journey with everybody at the same time. So, I mean, I know I have 5 years, but and really leaning into this, but I don't know, it's similar to what I talk about so much is that surface level. And I think that's what I'm realizing in live time is I'm now entering the deeper level. Because sitting there, having this amazing conversation and taking half hour to just be and let the conversation naturally flow where it was supposed to flow. Um, it was amazing. It was a conversation that felt like it was more important than maybe even both of us realized at the time. Because I think that's what is and has opened my eyes to, even in the smallest bit, like I said, what real rest actually is. Because rest is not laziness. And It's definitely not avoidance. And it's not giving up. It's like driving your car down the street and never stopping at a gas station and trying to wonder why eventually it broke down on the side of the road. We have to fill our tank. We are not endless beings. We are in a certain way, I guess, but not in the sense of never-ending energy that doesn't need rest. And I'm talking about rest on many different levels. I don't mean, like I said, I'm not talking about rest and sleep as the same thing. I'm talking about physical rest. I'm talking about emotional rest, sensory rest, creative rest, social, spiritual, all of it. We have to start allowing ourselves to rest. We have to start restoring our nervous system, because if we don't start learning the difference between numbing and resting, that's a world of disassociation that I don't really want to be a part of, to be honest. So I'm going to really start looking at that myself. Really, what is the difference between numbing and resting? And my little list here is going to come in handy, and I think I'm going to be shocked and not shocked at how many times I catch myself doom scrolling. So, but I think if that brings us to the deeper realization of this entire episode, um, is that humans were never designed to constantly produce. Because think about yourself after you rest. You have more clarity, you have more energy, ideas, or plans, or anything that you're trying to figure out in your own life. I'll just speak for myself. Whenever an idea comes, or especially my creativity, always comes in when I slow down just enough. Because rest creates the sustainability in our lives. It supports creativity. It supports healing. Rest supports relationships. And it definitely supports purpose. And I'm just, slowing down isn't failure. And I'm going to stop telling myself that it is, because that's one of the biggest lies that I think I've allowed to get in, to seep in. Because my worth exists separately from productivity. Just being, is just as important as doing. And I think the sooner that we wrap our mind around that, the better off that we'll be. Because yeah, I really, really, really believe and it's not just belief. You talk to anybody and you yourself, you feel it. We're carrying exhaustion that we don't question anymore. And like I said, to end it, let's wrap this up, because I can tell myself, I can feel that I'm just going to start going into this rambling spiral. Um, and I want to wrap it up so I can rest, right? Rest after accomplishing something and not feeling. See, there it was. Rest after accomplishing something. I even just said in the own podcast about this that I need to finish this podcast before I can rest. Reminder, rest is not something you earn. Rest is not proof you've done enough. Rest is not weakness. I don't know if I'm talking to all of you or myself. Probably both. Probably more myself, if I'm being honest. Yeah, because your body, it needs restoration. Your nervous system, it deserves recovery. Let's not wait until we collapse. And maybe one of the most radical things that we can do in a culture that constantly asks us to produce more is to remember that our worth was never tied to our output in the first place. And maybe rest isn't something that we earn after we've proven ourselves. Maybe it's something we deserve simply because we're human. Well, On that note, I think that'll wrap it up for this episode. Thank you again so much for listening. If you can help spread the word, I don't know if these episodes are helpful or I'm rambling. I'm still working on healing myself. I will say that every time, but I will see you next Friday. And a little preview is next Friday, we're going to talk more about why we keep outrunning ourselves. But until then, have a great weekend, and I'll see you next week.